ladies and gentlemen. Let me first of all apologise for the piss poor audio in this video. Some fuckwit had the wrong recording source selected. What a FUD. Here we go. Oh, another Blacklight Retribution gameplay video. I'm really trying to give this game a good fair going, but I think half the problem is A, I don't know what the hell is going on half the time, and B, everyone else is just a little bit too good at it. But anyway, on to the news. The PlayStation GPU is a beast!
You're right guys, apparently the PlayStation GPU, as you just heard, is a beast. Steve Sinclair is the creative director of the multi-platform free-to-play Warframe game, has stated the GPU is a beast and the game looks stellar running on the PS4. The unified memory is part of what makes this console so great to develop on. You can use threads to generate textures and graphic assets. You can use the GPU to process physics and effects data. We also have another developer, Stuart Gilray, from the independent video game developer Just Add Water, recently said, Sony is actively pushing for PlayStation 4 developers to deliver games that render at 60 frames per second, 1080p. And it basically goes on to state maybe a possible couple of differences between the PS4 and the Xbox One. We might see slightly smoother frame rates on the PS4. We're working with Sony right now and they're trying to actively push 60 frames per second, 1080p. You might get situations where the graphics will be a little but not much lower quality on the Xbox One, or you might get some fixed at 30 frames per second situations in 1080p. It depends on the scale of the game. If your game is going to push the heck out of the PS4, you might have to do some little tweaks for the Xbox One version. But if you design your game to work on Xbox One at 60, it's going to work on PS4 at 60. Yes, everybody, these new consoles are the next generation, modern technology, etc. But for somebody to go ahead and state that the PS4 GPU is a beast, I think we will get to 1080p 60 frames per second, but I think a lot of games, a lot of launch games, may struggle. Digital Foundry recently done a little exercise where they got a bunch of PC components and built the equivalent of an Xbox One, obviously not using Xbox One hardware, but like I say, closest they could get to compute wise for the GPU, and they've done the same for the PS4. They basically had both machines running several games, Crisis 3 being one of them. Yes, the PS4, it was floating about 60 frames per second, sometimes a little bit higher, a little bit lower. The Xbox One mock-up, if you like, was maybe 5-6 frames less. The PS4 certainly wasn't hitting consistently 60 frames per second. Obviously it's not running on actual PS4 hardware and they'll be able to optimize things, etc. because unified hardware instead of all the different variables for PCs. But I doubt we'll see a lot of games running consistently at 60 frames per second. We already heard that quite a few games are going to be running at 30 frames per second, which is disappointing, especially for next gen systems. As a PC gamer as well myself, minimum is 60 frames per second. A lot of the time, do you know what I mean, 100 plus frames per second. And also to say that the PS4 GPU is a beast, the GPU is actually what you class as a mid-level GPU on the PC side of things, whereas the Xbox One's probably a lower level GPU. But certainly the PS4 is not a beast of a GPU. We'll see some good improvements, I think, on these next-gen consoles. Things will look a little bit prettier, lighting will look a little bit prettier, the textures will look a little bit prettier, but I certainly wouldn't expect to see amazing improvements. Certainly not off the bat. It will take the developers a good couple of years to get to grips and really push everything out of this new hardware. It's not going to be like the good old days where we went from 2D to 3D and there was a massive difference in quality, or even PS1 to PS2 or PS2 to PS3. We're just not going to see that massive obvious, oh my gosh, those graphics are next gen. Don't get me wrong, the PS4 is going to be a powerful machine, potentially more powerful than the Xbox One is what we're hearing, but describing the GPU as a beast, I wouldn't describe it as a beast. It's going to be adequate, especially for a home console. and it'll certainly be interesting to see what they can do with it over the next few years once, like I say, once the developers get to grip with the hardware. As always, guys, thank you very much for listening. If you like what you hear, please press that subscribe button, please hit the like button. I'd love to hear your comments on this down below, and please come back for future content. As always, guys, until next time.